Hi, welcome to Miss Richardson's U.S. History 5-minute lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 1.3, Big Business in the Progressive Era. It includes information aligned with the first section of your study guide. Remember that you control the lecture. Pause the video if you need to, write down any questions you have and bring them to me in class, and rewatch as often as you need. And of course, always use your study guide. It will help you take notes. It's designed to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. You've already learned some about business in the late 1800s and early 1900s. You know that factories were growing and hiring more and more workers. They were using new technologies to be more efficient, faster, and to create more of their products to sell. Money was very important to these business owners, as it is to most people. In order to increase profits, big business came up with new ways to run companies. So you learned about Taylorism, or scientific management, and the assembly line in the last set of notes. These were some of the ways businesses increased their profits, but there were some others as well. Trusts and monopolies were the other two ways to increase profits for big businesses that we'll talk about. So how did this work? Well, first you actually have to understand that prices are set by both supply and demand. Yep, we're going to do a little economics lesson here. Martinez and Anderson, they can thank me with cash or, Starbucks cards, whatever. This is a really simplified version of supply and demand. Company A has a product that everyone wants. Company A, let's say, makes shoes. Everyone wanting it is the demand. People will pay for things they want. If Company A is the only company that makes shoes, they can determine how many shoes are available and how much those shoes will cost. Now, since everyone wants shoes, they can set the price high and people will still pay it because it's the only way they can have shoes. But what if Company B comes in and they also make shoes? Company B can set their price lower than Company A. Now, which company would you buy shoes from? Company B, right? Because they cost less. So Company A either has to be okay with selling fewer shoes or drop their price. This is economic competition, and that's how prices are actually set. Now let's say you're a big business owner in the late 1800s or early 1900s. How do you make more money? You make sure you're the only company selling your product. You create a monopoly. One company controls all of a single product. This way, you can set the price high and there's no competition to force you to lower it, and you can make huge profits. The only problem here is that monopolies were illegal, so businesses had to figure out ways around the law. There were two ways companies did this: vertical integration and horizontal integration. Both of these are known as trusts. So in vertical integration, which was pioneered by Andrew Carnegie of Carnegie Steel, it means that the company, in this case Carnegie Steel, bought all of the companies that they needed to produce, transport, and sell their steel. Carnegie bought the mines the iron ore came from, the factories that produced the steel, the railroads and shipping companies that transported the steel. This way, he controlled all of his costs and was never paying anyone else for any part of his business. In fact, others ended up paying him for transportation of their goods. So vertical integration is controlling all aspects, all levels of the business. Horizontal integration is works a little bit differently. It was done by J.D. Rockefeller with his company Standard Oil. Rockefeller simply bought all of his competition. He bought all the other oil companies and made them part of his trust. Since he couldn't make them all one company, he kept them separate with separate boards in charge of each one. Decisions for each were made by the board separately, but when you actually looked at who was on the board for each, it was the same people. So even though they were called by separate company names under the direction they became the Standard Oil Trust, and the same people ran all of them and profited from all of them. So there's not really any competition to keep prices fair for consumers. So during the Progressive Era, trusts gained in popularity, and so legislation had to be created to control and outlaw them as well. In fact, President Teddy Roosevelt is known for his actions against these unfair businesses, earning him the nickname Trust Buster. So Rockefeller and Carnegie both sound like jerks, right? All about profit, who cares about the workers or the consumers? Well, maybe not. All the actions I've told you about so far are actions that earned many big business owners the nickname robber barons. These are individuals who would do anything, including steal, to make money. They were wealthy, privileged, and corrupt. But they did some other things too, so they weren't always bad. The good actions earned them the nickname captains of industry. A captain of industry is a man who used ingenuity and skills to help others. They used the profits to then help the poor. They built schools, colleges, museums, and libraries. They put money towards feeding the poor, housing the homeless, and generally making life better for those in the most need. These were the same men who exploited the poor and created a contradiction on how we view them both today and historically. So you remember that idea of social Darwinism that we talked about, survival of the fittest? Well, that's why these men acted the way they did. They believed they were more fit, and that made them wealthy, but then, because the poor were literally not able to take care of themselves, the wealthy then took care of them. A bit convoluted, but that was the way they thought. So this ends Notes 1.3. I know they went a little long. I hope you learned something, though, in this 5-minute lecture, and I will see you in class with any questions you have.